I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians on the land on where we gather today. Today I'm joining you from Turrbal land, and I'd like to acknowledge elders past, present and emerging and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people joining us today. And I'd also like to share that this has always been a place of learning and a place of sharing our knowledge orally, which is what we're going to do today. So just quickly, we are going to have a dedicated question and answer section afterwards, but please feel free to pop some questions as we go along in the chat, and our panel members will endeavour to answer them as we go. So feel free to use the chat box at any time. Today, we're going to cover the basics of any application that you're undertaking, how to address selection criteria and how to map out your responses. We're going to talk a little bit about the Golden Key scholarships that are on offer, and Victoria from Griffith University is going to talk about the prestigious external scholarship program and what's on offer there and the support that's available to Griffith staff, students and alumni. We're also going to talk about how to set goals and plan for success, and also share resources where you can find out more. I'd like to hand over now to our first speaker, Justin Ellis. Justin is from our Careers and Employment team, and I'm going to hand over to him now. Thank you, Justin.
Great. Thanks, Kim, and welcome everyone. It's great to be with you today and looking forward to running through some of these slides with you as well. With regards to my background, I've been working in the Careers and Employment area here at Griffith probably for the last 6 years now, which is great. Prior to that, I've worked for many years in the HR and recruitment areas. So running through and reading through applications has been a really big part of my career so far. I've read hundreds, thousands of applications. I've done many interviews and all those sorts of things. So seeing people that put the effort in and people that don't is something that I've been well aware of. And these days, seeing who uses ChatGPT and seeing who doesn't and creates that authentic approach to things is something that's very noticeable. So with regards to the slides we're running through, just want to focus on our application, and our slides is focused on getting a job, but getting an application in for a scholarship or any other sort of program that you're applying to is very, very similar. So the basics with an application journey, as you can see on the screen, is determining what the reader wants, determining what they want to hear. Then you've got to develop your application to suit, and that can be all your application documents from a cover letter. We'll run through all those documents in a moment. Getting shortlisted is the part that you want to make sure that you get into the reader or the recruiter's mind to go, yes, this is someone we want to meet with, this is someone we want to invite to interview, and potentially this is someone we want to offer the job or application or scholarship to. With regards to, I guess, what employers are saying makes an inferior application and makes an outstanding application, on the screen you can see this at the moment. I'll let you guys read through that, but I will basically say those that put the time and effort in are really noticeable in this current market of people who have tailored their application to the job or to the application process, and those that haven't. And then those that have, let's say, learned from previous applications or previous processes what has worked to show their authenticity and show their interest in where they want to go. Now, typical application requirements involve a CV or resume, a cover letter or application letter, sometimes a short response, which is answering certain questions, and then lastly, a selection criteria, a personal statement, or a suitability statement. Not every application requires all of these, but you will find at least 2 or 3 of these is standard. So depending on who you're applying to, depends on what they're actually asking for. Now, what's the difference between each of these? Your resume really is a snapshot of you. So it's giving them a background of what you've been studying, what experiences you've developed so far, and even sometimes tying together your aspirations as well as your experience as well. Your application letter really is about writing to the job or writing to the application for scholarship. And then your responses to selection criteria are really about addressing the questions that they've asked. Sometimes there's a position description, sometimes there's details of what the job involves. And this is where sometimes you've got to outlay examples, including the star response, or sometimes even outlaying experiences that can highlight the skills and where you've developed those. When it comes to a capability or suitability statement, I must admit, this is really making your statement of claim. And this is showing and selling why you're the most suitable candidate for that role. So this is where it gets competitive. If anyone hasn't heard of each of these different parts of the application, feel free to pop some questions into the chat and we can open up that towards the end as well. Now, your goal is evidencing that you are the best candidate, evidencing that you understand what they're looking for and you have the skills, experience, knowledge to be the successful candidate. Now, usually when they're looking at this, there's KPIs or there's a grading process where they'll compare your application with others. And the best, I guess, examples or the best experience or the best, let's say, explanations or approaches to things is usually the most suitable candidate that will get through these processes. Now, for those of you who haven't heard of the STAR response, I'm going to go through the STAR response really quickly with you at the moment. So if you can think of it as STAR is the situation, which is setting the scene, which is giving them an explanation of where your example exists or where your experience exists. Then you've got to go through the how, the task that was at hand or what you had to do, what you had to fix, what you had to change, or better yet, what you were trying to improve. Your action is what you actually did and how you did it. And then your result is whether it worked or whether it didn't work. And keep in mind, it doesn't always have to be a positive experience. It can sometimes be a growth experience. But I'm a huge fan of adding in what you learned or what you're learning, or better yet, how you could do that differently next time. It's great to find candidates that have done everything and are doing everything at the moment, but it's really good to show someone that's developing as well. Sometimes some application readers, or let's call them recruiters, they want to find people that they can develop as well, rather than just getting a finished product or the best candidate at the end of the day. So making sure you have the chance to review and understand what they're looking for so that you can evidence it best you can in your application letters is very important. Now, when it gets to a cover letter versus a selection criteria, the essentials to remember is that you are personally addressing what they want. You are stating what you're applying to and how you're putting that together. And the other bullet points that we've got listed here is up to you guys to make sure that you've done the right thing to make sure it's ready to go. Now, there's no right or wrong to the right resume or the right cover letter. It's just an effective version or an ineffective version. And I think you've got to understand persuading or making someone want to interview you is the key point here. So you don't have to have a 20-page resume. You don't have to have a really long cover letter. You just have to have something that's easy to read and really persuades them to make sure they're aware that you're interested, you're motivated, and you're developing or developed the right skills and experience to do the job or to apply to that role. As we mentioned before, what are recruiters scanning for? Suitable qualifications and training that's specific to the role, skills and experience that fit the role or what you're applying to, and interest and keenness. So using your objective statement, using your experiences to highlight your motivation can be really important. And they're usually the quick three things that will go in the yes pile, the no pile, or the maybe pile. So it's really important for you guys to make sure you take the time to do that properly. Now, just as we're going on to, I'm about to finish up my slide section and we're going to go to our panel in a moment. I want you to make sure that you potentially, when you're applying for an application, a job, or a scholarship of any form, you want to make sure that you can match your documentation to theirs using the same language or using similar wording to make sure that they can see that match. As you can see on the screen at the moment, we've got a little example of a job advertisement and a resume. And what they've done here is they've highlighted the skill match, the value match, and where the role matches in there. Now, you don't have to highlight your entire document or your entire resumes, but you do have to be able to see, yep, that's addressing that, that's highlighted there, and you can see those connections, or better yet, so the employer can see it quite quickly. Particularly when they're scanning, let's say, hundreds of applications or hundreds of job applications as well. If they can't find the match fast enough, you're going to find that you may end up in that no or maybe pile a little bit quicker than some of the other candidates that have really tailored their application properly. So when you're checking your resume, it's really good to utilize the people around you. So there's some great resources online on our website, and you can see at the moment careers and employment at the bottom of the screen. You can go to that website and download some of the resume checklists and get that checked yourself. You can seek feedback. Now, I'm a huge fan of people reaching out to friends, family, even academics, and asking them, does this sound like me? Is this a good resume of my experience? Then it's good to find people that you don't know or don't know as well to kind of give you advice, whether it's the most persuasive or the most suitable application for that job. Ensuring that you've reached out to the careers team. We've got an online resume review and also resume reviewers on campus, or you can even book an appointment with one of us and we can go through the job application process as well as your letter of application as well. Now, moving along as well, how to approach an application process. I always tell people to treat it like an assignment. So we've talked about doing your research, but take your time, break down the different parts of the process that you really want to spend extra time on to develop your best application. Other than just reading the application process, reading other application processes that are similar is a great way for you to kind of get some ideas. Now, say it and prove it. This is where I say you've got to evidence where you're coming from. We've talked about the star response of giving examples, but you need to use that statement of claim to say that you're the right candidate and then prove it with your experience or with an example as well. Proofread again and again and again. Get other people to read it like we talked about, and always keep a copy of your application, the application process and everything on file so that you can go through it before the interview and make sure you're ready to roll. That's the first part of what I'm presenting for today. So thank you for listening so far. Please keep popping things into chat. I'm also just going to open up and encourage our panelists to turn on their cameras and mic, and just want to highlight we've got an amazing panel here today to go through. Martin's going to start us off with giving some information about his experiences so far. Then he's going to hand over to Sonia to continue the conversation. And then Victoria is going to close out before she hands over back to me. So over to you, Martin, to give us a bit of a rundown on your experience. And just want to say thank you to everyone on the panel for being here today as well. You guys are great.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin. Hopefully everyone can hear me. And I'm sure we'll be able to change to the next slide. I don't think I have access to that. Yep. So hi, everyone. My name is Martin. As it was mentioned on the previous slide, I'm the current Golden Key president, and I've been with Golden Key for a fair few years now. And I'm also finishing up my PhD at the moment in engineering and science. So I'm no stranger to a lot of applications for various things, but in saying that, I've also had a lot of failures with my applications. So at least from my point of view, I wanted to give you a quick rundown of, in my opinion, why that's so important and how you can make your application stand out. In particular, when you're trying to compete with a lot of other candidates. So on the screen there, I've got three top tips, which they've always served me pretty well and helped to, I guess, overcome any adversities I've had with applications and to ensure that I'm able to stand out and to put my best foot forward. So as Justin said, a lot of the time when you're submitting applications, whether it's for scholarships or jobs or whatever the topic is, recruiters or the people reading your applications are going to have hundreds of different applications at some point that they're going to be reading. And the last thing they want to be doing is reading the exact same thing over and over. But they want to be ensuring that you're meeting certain criteria at the same time. And that's really important, particularly when it comes to your own applications, because that comes to how do you personalize what you're writing and why is that so important? But how do you also ensure that you're still addressing the criteria and the key points that you need to hit in order for your application to be successful? So my first top tip that I have there is don't be afraid to fail. So in particular, from my perspective, I applied for the Golden Key Undergraduate Achievement Award several times before I was successful. And I had done this through numerous scholarship rounds, applying in the December and June, I think, application rounds for, I think, 2 or 3 years before I actually was successful in receiving that scholarship. And for me, this was important because it highlighted how I had certain gaps in my application each time and which areas I needed to really strengthen in order to meet the criteria that the scholarship judging panel was actually looking for. So it's really important to ensure that you don't treat failure as a failure. You treat it as a learning process, and particularly with applications, there's always going to be really competitive streaks or competitive applicants that you have to ensure that you're outmatching or able to compete with, to ensure that you are successful and you are the best candidate in the eyes of a judging panel. So for me, it was really important to recognize where I had gaps in my application, in my resume, in my cover letter, and to figure out ways in which I could strengthen it in order to ensure that the application was as strong as possible. And that kind of leads to that second point there, where it's about being persistent and critical. One thing that I learned is that sometimes it's not the right time in order for applications to be successful, and that doesn't mean that your application was necessarily worse than someone else's. It just means that sometimes the volume of applicants is just so high, and that there's just tiny little things that might distinguish you from other applicants. And that happens, and that happens with job applications, with scholarship applications, with everything. And it can often be about the timing rather than the actual skill set that you show. So being persistent and having that sort of mental resilience there to keep going and keep trying is really important. And it allows you to really critically reflect on what you're doing currently and why what you're working on is so important, and what your values are, to use that to further strengthen any application you're doing, whether it's through how you write your cover letter or what you put on your resume or what you're doing. It's really important to have that sort of critical reflection there, and to use that to make sure that you are able to stand out and to highlight why you deserve a scholarship or a job or whatever application you're applying for over someone else. But the third tip, and this is my favorite one, and it's the most important one for me, and it's something that anyone who knows me will know I harp on about it all the time, and I have for years. It's to be authentic, and this is what I was talking about when I was referencing what Justin was mentioning about reviewers having to look at hundreds of applications at times. There are criteria you will always have to meet, but if you're just going to write what you think they want to hear, then reviewers and judging panels will just see right through that, and they just wouldn't care. They want to have applications, or see applications, that are authentic and that have your personality reflected into it. And that's what identifies you as a person that they really want to work with, or to give scholarships for. So if you're writing things about what people want to hear, then people are able to identify that you're not necessarily writing something that you believe in. You're writing something that you know that they want to see or to witness, and that kind of sets you back a bit more than if you're just a bit more personal in what your experiences are and why things are core to your values. That tends to have a lot more weight, because it shows a lot more of a personable attitude, and it shows your journey and your strengths and weaknesses in a more reflective light. And that tends to weigh more than anything that you could do with respect to trying to, I guess, criteria match. So as I mentioned, it is important to meet those check boxes or things that they need to see, but you don't have to frame your applications in a very generic way. You can make it personable, be authentic, and make sure that your values really highlight and shine through in those applications, because that'll mean a lot more to reviewers, and that'll give you a bigger chance to be successful. So that's pretty much it for me. I hope that's been a helpful few minutes. If there's any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, and I'll reply to them. But yeah, that's it for me, and I'll move over now to Sonia, who will talk a bit more from an organizational point of view and why that's so important.
Thanks so much, Martin. Great tips and points. And also thank you to Kim, Justin and the Griffith team for the opportunity to join your panel to talk about the scholarships and applying for a Golden Key Award. I will spend some more time later to talk through what exact scholarships we offer. And for those who don't know much about Golden Key, just allow me a very quick introduction. So I'm Sonia Riverland. I manage the Asia Pacific region for Golden Key, and we have a small team that's based here in Australia. So Golden Key International Honour Society is a non-profit organisation. It's the world's largest honour society. We have over 2.65 million members all around the world and over 283,000 in the Asia Pacific. So that gives you an idea of the scope of membership. It was founded in the US in Georgia, Atlanta in 1977 and came out establishing partners in Australia in this region in about 1995. So we've been around for over 45 years, quite well established. And Golden Key recognises undergraduate and graduate students in the top 15% of their academic cohort. And through our university partners, students receive an invitation to join the membership, which is a lifetime membership for a small nominal fee. And that opens up membership benefits, doors to a global network, and in particular the Golden Key Academy, which gives you access to online resources which supports you with your professional development and career journey, and also your personal development and wellbeing. So Griffith is one of our oldest university partners and has our most active Golden Key chapter and student-led committee. It is fantastic to have Martin here as a testimony to the calibre of students who apply to Golden Key or who join Golden Key, and being former president of the Griffith Golden Key chapter for many years, he is a wonderful role model. One of my most rewarding aspects of my job has been to meet with Golden Key members and to speak to those who've won scholarships in Australia in my region. It is a highlight when I get to do that. And so what advice do we have about what you need to do to be successful with your scholarship application? So there's some very practical points, and these three top ones is really just making sure you read the instructions and directions and that you're filling out every piece of information that's asked, because pretty much any applications that are not fully completed, it just gets moved aside, so it doesn't even get it into the cut. And it's been mentioned before, but really it's strong advice not to submit generic letters of recommendation. And we do ask for letters of recommendation, so make sure these recommendation letters are written about you specifically for the award. That really helps. We do see a lot of generic letters like Sonia is great, but don't speak to the purpose of the award, and how as an individual you embody the criteria. So again, make sure your personal statement is written to support the information asked of the applicant and is written specific to the award. So that's really, it's been mentioned before too, but yeah, it doesn't really support you to put something that's generic. And the other thing maybe to add from an external organisation point of view and talking more broadly is really do your research. Maybe look at some of the past people who have won an award, maybe to see why they've won the award. And it is understanding the funding body or the organisation that you're submitting your application to, really thinking about how you exemplify the values of the funding body and how these align with you, what you do, what you've done. So, for example, Golden Key's values and 3 pillars are based on a commitment to academics, leadership and service. So for us, we want to see a great authentic, or great authentic examples of these actions. And it is understanding that it is very competitive for Golden Key scholarships. You're competing globally with other outstanding candidates. So I encourage you to throw your hat in the ring. It's good to try. Also to manage your expectations, and like Martin says, if you don't get one this round, try again. Martin was very, very persistent. And our last Griffith recipient was Tim Wu, who received an Undergraduate Achievement Award of last year's June round. So, yeah, that's for me. So I'm handing over to Victoria now. And again, if any questions, please put them in the chat.
Thank you for that, Sonia. And I just want to really reiterate what Martin and Sonia has said about the importance of tailoring your applications. So we've been talking about prestigious scholarships, and initially Justin was talking about job applications, but there really isn't necessarily a huge amount of difference. It's about understanding who the audience is, what the purpose of that application is. Now, I have been in this role for 2 years. I'm the only prestigious scholarship coach at Griffith. Prior to that, I was the manager of what was called Griffith Honours College, now the Academy of Excellence, so I know Martin extremely well. So in that role, I was supporting staff, students and alumni to apply for what's called a prestigious scholarship. So while you are all undergraduates, and some of you will be postgraduates, but you're students, in the future you may decide that you would like to apply for a prestigious scholarship. So what makes something a prestigious scholarship? I do get students sometimes after these presentations that will reach out to me and say, I'm applying for a scholarship at university at Griffith. So these are not scholarships for Griffith University. These are international scholarships. And with those scholarships, what makes them prestigious is that they are highly competitive. They're usually at the top tier universities in the world, like Oxford, Harvard, Cambridge, and importantly, they have a very strong alumni community, which is something that the Golden Key has as well. So that is an important facet of this, that it's not just receiving the scholarship that's significant, it is the community of really high achievers and future leaders that you become part of. So it is for undergraduate, postgraduate, in addition to alumni and in addition to Griffith academics that I'm talking about. Next slide. So can I move that?
You should be able to take control, Victoria, or if not, I can do it.
Okay, can you just move on, Kim? Because I'm not seeing the controller there, so it'll probably make it faster if you just move it. Okay, so why prestigious scholarships? So what they are, a prestigious scholarship, and there's a lot of them, they are, as I mentioned, scholarships for international studies. So as an undergraduate, you can apply for the New Colombo plan that will take you to the Indo-Pacific region. And as postgraduates, you can apply for scholarships that will take you really anywhere in the world. So why would you apply? As I mentioned, it is about community, but more importantly, when you go to these institutions to study, you become part of a community there. So they provide professional development for you. They are fully funded. Some of them are up to $90,000 to do your studies. Some of them will be for masters. Some of them will be for PhDs. Why not apply? Something that Martin has highlighted is really about timing and things as well. So you need to think about, is this right for me now? Okay, so with something like Rhodes, many students will say, I would like to apply for Rhodes because you know the name and it's highly prestigious. Why would you apply? Why wouldn't you apply? The reason you might apply is because the course that you want to do is at Oxford. The team of people that you would like to work with are also at Oxford. Why wouldn't you apply? Because it's not the right university, it's not the right team, it's not the right time for you. So timing is really everything. From experience, one of the things that I've come to understand is that also students really do not know themselves. They don't understand necessarily the goals. So another point that was raised earlier by Martin is really talking to people who do know you. Having worked in this area for probably 20 years, I've been working in the student leadership space. And what surprises me often is that people just don't know really themselves. You don't know what separates you from the pack, what makes you very interesting. And that's an important thing. Don't try to be what others think you need to be. So where people make the mistake is that they often think that the panel is looking for something. So they'll talk about leadership from the perspective of, say, a role that you've had as a past leader, rather than thinking of leadership about yourself, how you learn. And that's where the style model that Justin was talking about was so important. What makes you unique. So leadership is often not about necessarily a role that you have, it's about the actions. And many of these roles occur through employment. They don't necessarily just occur through community. So understanding really who you are, what your drivers are, and often your parents and family and friends and partners, they know you, they know your values, they understand your drivers, they understand what is the difference you want to make in the world. So if I go back to what is a prestigious scholarship is really for people who want to have a major impact on the world and to change something quite significantly, and that's what separates them. So and one of the things that I've also really discovered about applying for any job or any scholarship, be it prestigious or just a scholarship at university, is having a very clear plan. So in that plan, you have a timeline. And you have short goals, you have long goals. So you have a goal that might be, today I'm going to do this, this week I'm going to do this month I'm going to achieve this, with a view that in 6 months' time that you want to apply and be awarded a scholarship. So a plan will look at, how do you understand your goals? How do you understand what university or what degree you want to do? Who are your referees? How are you working your referees? How do you research what university or what course you want to do? And that may be LinkedIn, finding out who else has done this, applied for this scholarship or completed this degree overseas. So it's having a really clear plan of the small things you can do to find out the big things. And at the centre of that, what are the questions that you really have? Next one, Kim. So there are a lot, and these are some of the kind of options. And on the left-hand side, you've got 4 top ones that are perhaps the big key ones. Then the right, this quad one is a fairly new one that's only just started in 2022, and it takes you purely to America. So as I said, it's understanding, first of all, what is the university you want to go to and the degree you want to study. Then it's deciding from that, what is a scholarship that fits your needs. Now, one of the things that Martin also said is there will be lots of failure. I've worked with people for 2, 3, even 4 years before they're successful with one of these. So there's a lot more failing than success. So that's one of the reasons why starting incredibly early. So if any of you are in your first year and you're thinking you might be interested in further studies, you start it now. You start your plan really now, and you think about, well, what it is, what might it look like. So there are a lot of these scholarships. When I say a lot, while there's quite a number of scholarships, they might only give out 2 or 3, they might give out 6, they might give out 20 or so. For some of you, you might not be ready to apply till you're in your mid-30s. If you're looking at doing medicine, that's quite standard, that people will look to do their further studies in their mid-30s, or even when they're 40s, when they've had a little bit more experience. The only one of these that's really age restrictive is the Rhodes Scholarship if it's postgrads. The New Colombo plan is the only one that's undergraduate, and it's also age restrictive. But I'll leave it for you to have a look. If you get onto the Griffith website, it's available for you there. Kim, next one, please. So this gives you, this again is on our webpage, and it gives you information about your eligibility. So understand your eligibility. I've just worked with a Rhodes scholar who applied to the Middle East because they did not complete their undergraduate study. So not their undergraduate, they did not complete their schooling in Australia, which meant that they were not eligible to apply in Australia for the Rhodes, and they needed to apply for Rhodes in their home country. Okay, so again, I'm not going to go through this. I just want you to be aware of what the eligibility is for these, and again, how you need to do your research. Next slide, please, Kim. So in addition to that, one of the things for many of you, if you do want to do postgraduate studies, the prestigious scholarships are extremely difficult to get. You need to have an extremely high GPA is the given, and then very strong leadership experience and qualities and evidence, and a real commitment to the impact you're going to have on the world. Okay. However, all of the universities do have phenomenal scholarships that they offer, which can be for study and the tuition fees, in addition to accommodation. So these do not compete necessarily. Some of them do compete with the prestigious scholarships, and these are not called prestigious scholarships, they're just scholarships for accommodation or tuition. But it's certainly worthwhile, if you've made a decision about a university you want to go to, do have a look at what else they offer in their scholarships, because often students will get these and they won't necessarily get the other, or they may get both. Okay, so that's my next tip. And Kim, the last one. So what does a strong application have? Look, have passion for the field of study that you want to do and the difference you want to make. It is about a difference. It is not about your career step. It's about you wanting to have an impact on the world. It's about having a really big vision for yourself. And this is, again, what Martin says about being authentic. Be yourself, know the difference you want to make. Excellence in academic as well as your other achievements, so that be it community service or the others. If you're still early in the degree, look at other ways, not just your GPA, but look at other ways, getting involved if you can in research projects, volunteering at university in any way that you really can. And you can have a chat to Martin about this, because he has done everything. He's been involved undergrad, postgraduate, and really enriching himself and making university the most exciting experience. And I give another example there: partnerships, collaborations, linkages. See how you can get involved, and this is where careers can talk to you about this as well, about where you can get involved outside. And I won't talk about any of the other ones, but as I say, one of the things I do really observe is that people with their referees, that's where often people are quite weak, is that they haven't continued to maintain their connection with their referees. So if you're still an undergraduate or postgraduate, do make sure you work your referee network, and I call this part of your squad. So who are the people that can help you understand your goals, your aspirations? Who are the people who can help you really evidence your kind of experiences and things? And what happens is often people focus on just their GPA or maybe their volunteering work, and they forget to maintain their connections. So academics do love to hear back from their high achieving students and hear about what you're doing and what you're achieving. So again, one of the great places that Griffith has is our career services with Justin. Those guys are magic. Take advantage of it all. Take advantage of all of the website resources that we have. The big interview is, I cannot recommend it enough. So it's those kind of things. Work, have a plan, and think about the referees, your leadership, your academic skills. What are you doing both in course but out of course in the complementary kind of things? Okay, Kim. That should be me. So more information. We will do an information session, which is usually around about April. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but it will be early in the year. And so my services that I really offer is to support people who have made it through. They're applying for a prestigious scholarship, and then they've made it to interview. Okay, so these resources will be available for you later on. Thank you very much, and I'll hand back over to, I think it's Justin next, is it?
I think we're going to flow straight on to Sonia, who's going to talk a little bit more about the Golden Key International Honour Society and the scholarships they've got on offer.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Victoria. So I'm just go through the slides. Just a few bits of information. So basically, Golden Key has been awarding over $14 million in scholarships since 1977, and these scholarships really range from $500 to $1,500. The applications are open to all members. And we have 2 rounds, so this is good in terms of having more chances. We have a mid-December round, 15th of June, and also 15th of December. So the next round is closing on the 15th of December. So if anyone's thinking about that, I encourage you to apply. And normally our scholarship winners are announced about 120 days after the deadline. So, so around 15th of April next year for the December round, and 15th of October for the June round. We have a number of categories of scholarships, and so I'm just going to talk a bit about them. Starting off with the Undergraduate Achievement Award, the value is US dollars 1,000, and the emphasis is on academic excellence and how this individual lives out the values of Golden Key on a daily basis. Then we have a Graduate Scholar Award, which is 1,500 US dollars. And the emphasis of that is placed on why the student is continuing their education, future academic goals, and career goals, as well as how the student feels that they can truly create or change the future. The Professional Development Award, which is worth 750 US dollars, the emphasis is placed on the quality of the submission around your personal journey, how this award will allow you to accomplish further in your professional career. We also have an Outstanding Member Award, which is 500 US dollars, and the emphasis is placed on how a member has been able to demonstrate exceptional achievement in all 3 of the Golden Key pillars. So that's academic, leadership, and service. Then we have a Humanitarian Service Response Award, which is valued at 500 US dollars. And the emphasis on that is placed on members' ability to showcase their efforts and commitment to service. So really showing a community spirit. And the other thing, just I'm excited to announce that specifically for Asia Pacific, that we're going to have a bursary, an equity bursary that's the value of the membership. So it's Australian $100 that we're hoping to include in the December round. And it's really encouraging members from, different groups to apply if you can demonstrate financial hardship or have any historical or current barriers to equity, then that's something that we can support. In 2025, just keep looking out for the categories because they may change a little bit. I'm hearing that we might be simplifying some of these, but they will be updated on the website. The application process is, it's pretty clear. You just go through the website, you log in and you sign up, and you'll notice that in that URL we've got Exuma. So that is the external agency that we use to process applications. You will receive, a one-time password, and so there's all that kind of sign-in prompts that you just really follow through, and just making sure that you put in the right codes. And if you need any other information or support, you can always contact Golden Key to find out more. But basically, you log into your Golden Key account and you follow the instructions. We also included a couple of slides just to show you what that looks like. And so there's a website registration and portal. Again, just entering your basic details. And then you'll come towards a page which has different categories. So just make sure you're applying for the right category, and in that blue area, if you click on that, it will give you the specific criteria that you need, as well as the documentation that you need to submit. So using Exuma, the system will confirm that they've received your application. If you're shortlisted, you'll receive an email that may need some more information. If it's an undergraduate achievement award, basically it is that personal statement and the letter of recommendation. The Graduate Scholar Award, again, a personal statement, and then we'd want information on, what you're pursuing for your postgraduate studies and how you plan to use your postgraduate study degree to impact the world, I guess, through your leadership and service. And again, letters of recommendation are required. This is just more a visual showing you the kinds of steps and the documents that you need to submit. I think it's pretty clear, and the type of message that you get once everything's put through. So please do keep in contact. Oops, sorry, going back. If you have any inquiries, just email us at apac@goldenkey.org, and my email address is there as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Sonia. That was really informative. And thank you to Victoria and Martin also for their valuable words of information as well. So just to close out some of this information, don't forget, know who you are, know your strengths, know what you can offer and that value that you might be able to create in this process. You're successful because of who you are, not who you aren't. So don't try and be something that you're not. Try and lean into the things that make you special and the things that you've already been doing well so far. I talk to lots of people applying for things, and they sometimes worry about the things that they haven't done, that they think they need to have done. They compare themselves with other people. I think you've got to remember, when you're putting an application together, it's all about you and the things that you're good at and the things that you're developing at the moment as well. So what I'm trying to say there is probably more, be confident, be persuasive, be interested, but don't try and say things that you can't back up or you can't support with evidence as well. Now, leaning into some things Victoria said, build a squad. Find the people that want to work with you. Find the people that you rely on that support you already. If you're struggling to find those people, keep in mind there's a range of different places you can continue to develop your network as well. Listed in the bullet points here is a number of them. And being a part of the university, I strongly recommend leaning into those clubs and societies that you might be able to find some more friends and colleagues as well. And don't forget about your academics also. LinkedIn is your friend. So you want to make sure that you've got a really good LinkedIn profile that represents you, that can allow you to continue to build your network. Whether that's here in Australia or overseas, there's a great network out there that you may not have met yet. And I particularly want to refer you guys to the alumni network, both in our university as well as in other local universities that people study or are studying the same things that you are. So be out there, be aware, and make sure you've got your profile ready to go. Now, your university experience is unique to you. And this information we've got on here is all about you making sure that you feel like you're on track. Now, as you can see with the image here, there's lots of overlapping sort of pathways or roads or career paths. You may not always be on the same path. You may swap paths, you may change as you're going, but making sure you lean into your journey and be aware of the experience or the authentic experiences that you can be a part of. Just being here today will help you develop and maybe even help you find your way. So make sure that you're being aware of what else is out there and what else you can engage with as well. We strongly recommend that you set yourself some SMART goals. Now, whether this be related to applying for things or getting out there and trying something different, you want to make sure that you are being specific about where you're wanting to go. You want to make sure that you have made it measurable and making sure it's achievable, realistic, and able to be targeted or timed as well. So if you haven't done much in goal setting before, I recommend take a bit of time. In these links, we've also in these slides, we've got some links to some examples that you might want to refer to. And on the next page here, we've actually got a brief rundown of how to set 4 goals, 4 actions over the next 4 months. Particularly coming into trimester 3, I meet a lot of students that sometimes feel aimless at this time of the year or don't know what they're trying to do. They're thinking about just getting a Christmas job or doing something along those sorts of lines if they're in that undergraduate capacity. no matter what you're doing, try and make sure you refer it back to your goals and your achievements and what you want to try and do over the next few months. Because it may feel like you're doing some things without a purpose or without a goal, but when you refer it back to what you're wanting to achieve, there's lots of things that you can lean into or develop on there as well. Now, as mentioned earlier, the Careers and Employment team here at Griffith are here to support you while you're a student and also 4 months into graduation as well. So reach out to us if we can help you with any topics or anything you want to run through. We're here on campus at the Nathan and Gold Coast locations and online as well if you want to meet with us online. There's lots of other resources and tools. The big interview is something that Victoria said she's a big fan of. I am too, particularly because it's free, both as a student and also as an alumni as well. We can now give you free access to that as well, which is great. There's some great information on Career Hub if you're wanting to reach out and look for some work or look for other events like this today. So feel free to reach out to those and feel free to contact us or book an appointment with one of the careers consultants as well. That does bring us to the end of our slides and want to just open up to questions with regards to anything you guys have covered today. We'll go back through the chat and see if there's anything else that we want to run through as well. And we're also going to be stopping the recording here as well. So just want to say thank you to everyone who's attended today. Hopefully you've got a little bit of information or some support out of this. And also thank you to our panel and for Kim organizing this one as well. If I don't chat to you in the chat, hopefully you guys have a great day and good luck in your future endeavors and application processes.